Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of the MENG 9A52-2 Smerch Russian Long Range Rocket Launcher. In part 5 I put on the rotating platform, the boxes and the stabilising. Now if you remember in part 5 I put this under a heavy clamp to set. It's obviously set now overnight, but it did manage to bend in these little bracket things here. So I'm going to attempt to fix them. Now one's already came off, which is okay. No, it's not damaged. I can just pop that back on. The ones that are bent, I'm just going to see if I can prise them up. Okay, it came off. So it might be better if I can just take them off. So I'll see if I can get them off and relocated. So I managed to get them off without too much problems. I'll try and refit them. Like so. Just a tiny bit of cement. And I will have to leave this longer than normal for the cement to eat through the paint. And hopefully there's not much sanding to be done, if any. But I suppose that the beauty about this is it doesn't matter if it is a little bit rough, because this is a working vehicle. You don't expect it to be pristine off the factory floor shot. Well, off the factory floor, you know what I mean. That one was practically off, so I may as well pull it off. There we go. So the side ones are bent as well, and a couple of bent ones on the top, so I'll get on with that before carrying on with the build. So I've had a look, and the side ones are too far gone. They're sort of compressed right in, and it makes sense where I had the clamp situated. So I'm not even going to try and prise them up, because I'll just make a complete mess of the whole unit. Same again with this side. But I've managed to get the top ones up, and once they're dry I shall repaint them. I don't think it needs much sanding. Well, that one's just popped off. There you go. I don't think I'll need much sanding, but I'll put it aside to dry. I'm starting off with the wheels, and I'm painting the hubcaps 362 greyish green from Revell. And once it's dry, it's time to assemble them. As you can see there, I've got all the parts ready. There's a poly cap that goes in the middle here, and that's the large one. As I suspected, these ones are for the wheels. So they just place in the centre. It's a little bit of cement on the one of the wheels, and they just lock together. There's a couple of little location points that fit in, so there's no need to think about how do they go. I mean, you can't get these wrong anyway. There's not a wrong way to put these on, if you know. So once that's ready, the wheel just pops in. Now I'm not even worried about the cement drying here at this point, because it's all in the inner part of the tire, so you can't see if it slips a little. So it just pops in and marries up, and that's the first wheel done. Once the wheels are made up, it's time to put them on, and this is a very simple process. They just get pushed on. They don't need any cement whatsoever. so they can be free moving if you like. You can cement them if you prefer, in case you're worried about them falling off, but they are quite a good tight fit, so you shouldn't have any problems. I should point out there's no particular order that you can put these in, but there is a little diagram on the instruction sheet to show you the directional route of the tyre. It's a little bit difficult to make out, but if you're worried about that sort of thing, it's there for you to have a look at. Onto the lights then, and the clear parts are getting painted in 730 Clear Orange by Revel Aquacolor, and it's just a little slash of orange on one end of the rear light. Now you want to pay attention to how you're putting this on, because obviously there's a left and right light, so make sure when you put them on that you're putting them on in the right direction. The red light is Tamiya's X27 Clear Red. I'll just point out I love this red. It's a brilliant clear red. As I said before in my other videos, I would have used clear orange from Tamiya as well, but mine's had dried up, and it's unfortunate, but I don't have time to go and get a new one, so I'll have to wait on that. The outer casing of the lights are painted in Revel 92 Silver, but the back end of the light unit is painted in 362 Greyish Green. So it's actually two different tones, so the inner is the silver, the back is the greyish green colour. Moving on to the mudguards next, and these are getting painted in Revel 69 Granite Grey. I would advise painting these before you attach to them, because it's just easier really. Next is the main part of the mudguard, and it's 362 Greyish Green, so it's the main colour going on here. On the inside I painted it with Revel Aquacolor 08 Matte Black. Again, make sure you paint the underside of these, because they will show up if you turn the model around upside down. You don't want to see that bare plastic look. So try not to skip any corners here. There's a little box that goes on the mudguard, and it's got 3 points on it, and these get painted in red X27 Clear Red by Tamiya, and the blue is X23 Clear Blue, and then it's X25 Clear Green, all by Tamiya. Now it's just 3 tiny little dots, but obviously make sure that you paint the unit with its base colour before you do this. It goes without saying, but you'll be surprised how many people forget to do that. Moving on to the platforms now, and all these areas will be getting painted in 362 Greyish Green. So I'll be taking the opportunity to paint most of it on the sprue here. So while I've got the paint out, I'm going to be painting 1 or 2 parts, just to save time really. There's a little pipe that runs alongside it, and that's getting painted in 361 or olive green. It's time to fit the clear parts onto the lighthouse housing now. Now I've decided to do this on the sprue just because it stops the base unit from moving around and not trying to hold it in a pair of tweezers or something. It does make it easier, you just have to be more careful when you're placing it on. But it goes on without a problem. But make sure it's dry before you snip it off from the sprue. Then once it's dry, it's time to put it on the mudguard. Now that it goes on a little black back plate, and again make sure that it's the right way around. You don't want both of them looking the same way. Remember, you have a left and you have a right. So whatever way you put them, when you put the orange first or the red first, make sure it is on the opposite, on the other side. And once the lights are on, it's time to put in the little parts that I painted with those 3 tiny dots. Again, the locations are quite easy, they're just small parts. They're a little bit fiddly, it takes a bit of time to get them on properly and a steady hand. And once it's all on secure, just place it onto the mudguard. Back to the base plates now. I'm just putting in the pipe it goes on. There's actually 1 pipe for each side, so just make sure you get them in the right order, you don't put the wrong pipe on. There's some sort of bar system that goes on, and this is getting painted in 361 olive green. Now there's a couple of parts to this. There's the main unit, then two bars that run inside the middle. The locations are really easy to find and there was no difficulty whatsoever putting it on. I did however forget to paint the other end of the platform, so there's 362 greyish green going on. And then Revit Aquacolor 08 matte black for the underside. Attaching the mudguard to the platform base is quite simple. It fits in nicely, just a little bit of cement. I did actually forget to fit the mudguard at this point though. I did notice though the areas that I painted white in part 5 wasn't actually necessary because that's all covered up. Now I got it slightly wrong, so I'm repainting it in Revit Aquacolor 362 greyish green. Now because it's already on, it's a bit tricky with the wheels and that. I could have just pulled the wheels off, to tell you the truth, but I didn't think at the time. I just jumped into the painting. But if you do make mistakes like this, have a look and see whether any parts can come off before you start painting. You know, obviously don't take off any cemented parts because that could be just a pain. So it's back to the build and it's time to put the mudguard and platform on. This just bumps right up against the box in the middle and runs right down to the end. It rests on all the little long brackets that you put in place earlier on. You shouldn't have any problem. There's a couple of little location points as well to help you out. And once they're on, it's time to put on all the little bits that I painted on earlier. So there's a tiny little bracket that goes on here, first of all, before putting on this 3-pipe grid. I don't know what it is, but it's something anyway. It goes on right behind it. And it is a little bit difficult with the location points being right next to the part I just put on, but I thought it was easier to put the smaller part on first before putting this one on. Next is a drive shaft I'm putting in. I didn't realise it was a drive shaft at the time, so I painted it in olive green, and I decided to leave it that way because it would have been painted in the darker colour anyway instead of steel or aluminium, whatever one you prefer. It just pushes up to the little housing box in the middle there. Then there's a location point on the platform for it to sit in. Then it's onto the other platforms. Now this one was a little bit more trickier than the other two to put on, just because where the brackets were, you may have to bend them slightly to get them fit. I did anyway, and I found it helpful to clamp it up just to make sure it didn't move. And once one side was on, it's time to put the other side on. You can see the mudguards sitting over there next to my paint. I've completely forgot all about them. So the next stage is the battery pack and lubrication oil radiator fan. Now this one is quite a long drawn out process. First of all, you have to fit the fan to the holding bracket and unit. I've done this on the sprue, as you can see, because of, again, easier to paint. Now this is getting painted in Revit Aquacolor 08 matte black, and it's getting painted all over in that colour. So that includes the front panel that the radiator gets attached to as well. Next is a small photo etch part. Now I found it's quite difficult to get on it. It doesn't go straight onto the piece. It actually just the leading edge goes onto the leading edge of the plastic part. So to line it up, there it is quite difficult. There is 3 location points to fit in, but I couldn't get them to fit inside the holes of the photo etch part. So in the end, I just put a little bit of glue, super glue on, let it set a little bit, then just held it down with my tweezers to get it in position. Then of course I had to completely clean my tweezers and fingers of glue. The front grille where the fan goes, that's getting painted in Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey. It's just a small part that needs to be painted, and it's quite straightforward. And once that was dry, the fan and housing just fits on the back of the radiator panel, and then it's the top with the photo etch part that goes on next. Now be careful with this one. there is 2 location points, but there's also similar location points on the underside as well, so make sure that you get it on properly. You'll have to take it off otherwise. Guess what, that happened to me. There's a couple more 4H parts that add to the unit, and this one I had to use my bending tool because it's quite a long straight line you have to bend in, so try and get one of these bending tools if you haven't got one. They are really good for the ease of bending. And once they were bent, it was time to put on. Again, each it's quite tricky to put on. There's a smaller part and a larger part, and both go not opposite each other on each side, so you want to make sure that they go on properly. Once that unit is built, the next stage is the batteries themselves. So the sidewall of the batteries are getting painted in Rebel Agricolor 05 white. There's 4 of these batteries to make up, so make sure you get them all. On top of the battery, this is getting painted in Rebel Agricolor 15 yellow. I thought yellow was a bit strange, but once it was in situ I can kind of see why it is yellow. So just go with it, because it just sort of makes sense in the end. Then it's back to the fan unit, and the housing is getting painted in 362 greyish green. And before I make up the whole structure that holds the battery casing, I'm painting that all in the same colour. If you're doing it this way, make sure you paint both sides, because on some parts you will see each side in the model, so it's wise to do it now before you build it. Once it was dry, it was time to make up the batteries. Now the location points are opposite sides of each end, so make sure you get them in the right position. It can look a little bit confusing when you look at the base it's sitting on. There's 3 little location points on each side. You think, oh, I've only got 4, but if you look carefully, there's another location point right at the end that you can hardly make out, but it does fit. Dry fit by all means before you put it on though. And once the batteries are fitted, the fan and radiator grill are going next, and this gets placed in the 2 prongs of the base unit. And now you have to build up the walls of the battery unit. There's location points around this that you may have noticed before putting the batteries in, and this is why you have to be careful not to put them in the wrong location points. But these 3 side walls do fit rather well together. You shouldn't have any problems. There is only 3 because the back one actually butts up against the main frame of the unit. So more 4H parts. Now this is a little grill that goes on the side of the unit's main wall, and that's getting painted in Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey. Then the grill gets fitted into the unit. Make sure you paint both sides of that 4H part, I should have said, because you do get glimpses of each side. There's a little section here that you put on. I'm not sure what it's meant for, but it does help with positioning the battery part when you put it all together. Maybe that was for, but it looked like some sort of piping system. But once the unit's in, you really can't see it. Time to put the walls together now. They are strangely shaped because also the contours of the main cab in front of the vehicle. So make sure you get your lined up properly and do one part at a time, then let it dry, as you can see I'm doing here. I think it's the only way to do it. You may get in a mess otherwise. As you can see, the sort of strange shape. Next to make up is a lubrication unit, and it's a fairly simple process, this one. It's just a couple of main parts, small parts to be fair, but easy enough to put together. There's 2 brackets that fit into the each side of the central part, then a couple of little parts that go on. So a little bit of sub-assembly required before it fits onto the main unit. And once it's assembled dry, it's time to attach it. Now the location points are self-evident. You might think, how the hell do I fit this one bit? It goes on surprisingly well. Just make sure you follow the location area and you should be fine. and it's the same with the wall panels as well that goes on with it. Then once the lubrication unit is fitted in, it's time to put in the battery pack. Again, this butts up against the wall, like I said before. You shouldn't have any problem whatsoever. Well, I didn't fit in it, it just lays straight down onto it. So after a good amount of drying time, it was time to place it on. It goes on just behind the bumper onto the Sagia there, the black part, and then it fits onto the opposite end. Make sure it's level because it does fit down. When you look at it, you think it sticks up a bit, but with the lubrication part, as it goes through the actual unit itself, and then that's it on. And this is a good place to stop this part, so I'll end the part here. And as you can see, that's quite a lot done today. The video is a little bit longer than normal, but I wanted to make sure I got all this in. In part 7 I'll be dealing with the cab assembly, so that'll be good to get started on with. As you can see, a little bit popped out and just sorting that. Obviously not enough drying time. Well, if you liked what you saw, why don't you check out the other videos on my channel, subscribe to the channel for new updates and so on. Throw me a like if you enjoyed what you watched here. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.